On today's episode of The Back of the Bird, we sit down with the all-time American games played leader in the NLL, Brett Manney. Also chat about the player being a goaltender situation this week in the NLL, catch up on some news and notes around the league, and just have a great time. Let's get right into it. Episode 132 of The Back of the Bird.
Take your first ride and run, baby, run. If you want a sign, this is it. You're mad, you're magic, you're as hot as a gun. You wanna play with fire, consider this. You'll chase the thrill if it's worth the hit, 'cause you never ever wanna work for it. Take your first ride and run, baby, run. You got a spine of steel and a...
Okay, we're back at it again. Episode 132 of Back of the Bird, brought to you by Cottage Springs. Now, I had an all-time delivery this week. We've been a little backlogged. Everyone's been a little busy. The holidays caught up to us. I had a 60 case drop off at the house. My floor might fall through to the neighbors. There's 1,440 cans of Cottage Springs sitting behind me. Now, this is the one I'm excited to try, though. You know what? We were going on about the vodka waters and stuff. I brought them to a bachelor party back in Vermont. The boys were juiced about shotgunning them because they're easy to get down. Now they got the vodka waters with real juice in them. So get out there, grab a case of those.
Whoa.
They also gave me a couple of samplers for some new products coming out. I'm going to tease it a little bit. You like those Coors Light type twist off aluminum cans with the wide mouth? You're going to have those in a spring. So keep your eyes peeled for that. They're coming to your LCBO anytime in the next kind of probably 4 to 6 weeks. But again, go give the real juice vodka waters a try as well. Cheap as can be, and you got all your flavors. But
I got a bye week next week. Should we just do a taste test? just a taste test on the pod? Just get pinned.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do those videos. You know the videos where the guys
they get pinned live stream watching a game.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's basically the case race that the Barstool guys are doing.
Yeah.
Well, do you know those Paulie? I think we might have talked about this before when the guys like, this is me after one beer. And
Yeah.
Rusty does beer.
Yeah, maybe we should do that. But
Could be the move.
Jump into it, Paulie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, just bye week, and now we got our We got our Tucker out lymphoma night this week against Albany. So that's a big one, always in Buffalo. They're the ones who kind of started the whole thing. But again, another one that now Dyson's playing. So, and it's for the Tucker Lymphoma Cup, which I got to see at practice a couple weeks ago, which is, it's pretty nice trophy, really, really well done. So yeah, man, just doing that. And then this weekend I worked all weekend, little ice, worked weekend, solo dad. Dory was in San Diego. So, here we go. Hey, just house is still standing. Let's go.
That's great. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, so that allowed me to get to San Diego and play Torrey Pines in a month.
I knew there was going to be a catch.
He's on a heater. The guy's on a heater.
Did I tell you I got Old Corkscrew and Tiburon lined up in Florida for Saturday, Sunday next weekend?
Nice. Let's go.
Yeah. I'm juiced. And then 4 days in Jupiter playing one of the top 5 public courses in the U.S. Apparently, I don't know the name of it, but
Jupiter is mental. All the pros live there, so all those courses are going to be unreal.
Yeah,
you'll probably go play a track, and it'll be the nicest track you've ever played.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also riding a jet ski dolphin tour for work. So whatever the fuck that means, but
I think you used the dolphins as the jet ski. I think.
Yeah.
They're really well trained.
I'm riding dolphins. That's a fun fact for you. Dolphins are the only other animal that has sex for pleasure. So shout out to dolphins. And Donnie.
Wow, nice. Good segue.
What do you got?
I'm good. Bye last week, heading to Vegas this weekend. Not sure when this is going to come out. Hopefully Saturday. Might not be out till Monday, but anyways, we'll be in Vegas. Also, Tucker at Lymphoma Night for us. I think this is maybe the one game of the whole thing that does not include Buffalo, Albany, and us. We're playing Georgia. I think they had to kind of even it out there with one more game, so it counts for the cup, even though it's against Georgia. I think that's how it works, and obviously a tremendous honor to wear those jerseys. We've got more special jerseys and to honor the Williams family. But other than that, ready to roll. Obviously, always nice having buys. Paulie, you guys have had a ton of buys. It's crazy. So. We had one that we needed. It was nice to get a break after a good win there, but excited to see the boys and get back on the road.
Hell yeah!
What about you, Dan?
We're living the NARP life over here. It's I think it was about maybe a week ago or so. I realized I might have gotten a little bit fat, so we're back in the gym. We're December caught up to me, a lot of work and a lot of pints, but
Paulie,
we're gonna. I'm on my fitness journey, as the kids say. So we're gonna go. Your buddy Travis there, Paulie, sent me a new program. So we're gonna be getting dialed in.
Send it over.
And let me tell you,
I want to critique it.
Yeah, you can. He gave me a 6-12-25 program to make me not fat. So it's humbling, man.
Oh, dude, it's killer. That's actually funny. Usually, like, when someone asks me for a program that, like, or just like, hey, I need, like, a good arm workout. I'm like, okay, here, just do 4 sets of 6-12-25. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, just wait. And then, like, that 25, they're just falling off. Like,
oh, dude, I'm over here RDLing the bar 25 times. I can't even walk at the gym. But, we had a nice little work event last night. The healthiest reinsurance work event of all time. We did a berries class. Let me tell you, I will be back. There was some fun sightseeing going on. It was hard. It was good. I almost lost a coworker. He was running on the treadmill. His arm came up and clipped the emergency stop rope, and it stopped dead and almost tore both of his quads, I think. So,
I got kind of not a similar story. Well, I do have a similar story. At work, we have every Thursday you got to do a generator test. So all our stations are backed up by like a diesel generator. And then it turns off the power to the station. The generator kicks in, and you run the generator for like an hour. You're like, good. So usually it's like, because people are on computers or whatever. So usually it's like, hey, we're gonna do the generator test. Like, okay, I'll save my work or whatever. So I'm just in the back doing a hurricane. And a hurricane's like you do like 10 incline on the treadmill at like a 10, 11 speed. Do that for 30 seconds, 3 exercises. So I'm like 4 sets in. I'm grinding. And then like the new guy in our crew, this is like years ago, does a generator test. So yeah, just mid full sprint, lights off, like can't see, treadmill stops, like almost bail. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, hey, he's like, hey, what's up, man? Like, doesn't know it. I'm like, you want to give me a heads up next time? I'm just was like full dead on sprint. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, yeah, I almost died. I almost went through the wall, dude. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, that's all good, buddy. But yeah, kind of have a similar.
Treadmills are a scary thing, man. People can go down hard on those things. But outside of that, just watching lacrosse and enjoying it. Ready for this weekend again to roll around. Tell you what, lacrosse is a lot easier to watch than these Leafs these days. So,
Danny, you also forgot to mention, Danny and I got out on the ice on Monday. You should have seen it, Paulie. We're flying around. Danny's coming down the left wing, inside to Donnie. Donnie one touches it right back to Lomi, top shelf. Oh, it's a thing of beauty.
It was. We were playing.
I gotta get it there.
It's I was also Willie Nylander hanging at the far blue line just for breakaways.
Danny got his breakaways in. He got his touches.
I just kept shooting as hard as I could and hitting the fence, missing the post, so it was humbling. But
I think you realized that the only way you could safely like shoot it hard was to get a breakaway, because otherwise you kind of had to, you know, just try to flip it at the post. So, so you're like, okay, well, I'll just get a bunch of breakaways then, and then I can snap it around.
No problem.
Yeah, good times.
I play pond hockey the same way I play in alumni or charity events for lacrosse. It's about me. It's not about the event here. But yeah, I mean, speaking of watching lacrosse, we had a fun little. I mean, we actually talked about it in this interview that we've got Brett Manney on here, but we had a player had to play goalie. This is happening a lot more than I would think it would have happened. Like I remember.
Start getting the e-book in the stands.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, there's got to be one in every city, but like,
so there's a rule. There's a rule that if you enter the game day with 2 healthy goalies, you can't switch out a goalie. People should go read Evan Schemenauer's piece on Lacrosse Culture Daily. He went into it this week. When I read it, I did not know that, and because Lane Hrushka was there, the goalie.
No idea these rules. Like I love that these guys know these rules. I'm just like, that's news to me. Like,
yeah, me too. I mean, that's a weird one. I don't necessarily because Lane Hrushka, the goalie, is from Saskatoon, lives there. He was like on the bench. You can see him in some of the photos. But Paulie has no, he was because so Skiggs went home. Kaiser goes in to play the game, and then because it was so late, they couldn't activate him.
Wow.
I think that's my understanding of what happened.
Well, yeah, that makes sense in terms of because in a certain circumstance, early in my career in Roch, and it's fun I can now talk about this stuff because I have nothing to lose. Early in my career in Roch, I was on the practice roster and was told on the back end of a doubleheader that I was going to be dressing for the game in Georgia. And so I texted all my buddies that lived in Atlanta to come to the game and got them tickets and stuff. They come to the game, and I find out after first warm-up that the person who was supposed to activate me didn't activate me because she may have been related to the person that was going to be taken off the active roster. Ooh. So then I couldn't play in the game. I just went in the room, started throwing my gear around, and it was that was a nice little welcome to what the fuck are we doing? But times have changed, things are better.
Just to clarify too, I'm just reading it. According to Evan Schemenauer, our teammate at Lacrosse Culture, the only problem is there's a league rule: if you have 2 healthy goaltenders at the start of game day, you can't sign an additional goaltender. So I think they could have maybe activated one if they had one on PR, but they couldn't emergency sign one, even though they did have a guy there in Saskatoon. But anyways, that's the rule. And Keegan Bell gets in.
May want to look into switching that old rule.
Yeah, that seems like a bit of a safety issue.
Amendment. Hey, just in case you can actually get a goal.
Maybe I'll just I might volunteer to be Toronto's e-bug, just go to every game and just be ready. You never know. But I like that. I think this happened 2020. Connor Kiernan was the backup goalie when we played against the Seals in New York. I'm certain this has happened other times too. But
Chris Willman did it for us in 2020, 2021.
Because wasn't he the one that hit Ralphie in the head? So they made him go to net.
Like best buddies, but he's the one that conked him. Like, you're going to net. But then I think I told a story too, and I don't know if this would ever worked, but basically they're like, yeah, Willman, you're going to net. You conked him, you're going to net. That's your punishment, or like going and backing up. But then Hazer pulled me aside, was like, hey, listen, like if Willman does have to go in, like, I'm calling a timeout. You're going to get changed and go in there. So I don't know if that would have, like, been if you could have done that. But then, like, secretly, like, so we, like, I know, like, we're joking around on social media, but secretly I was like, yeah, let's fucking do it. Like, hopefully I get to go in here. I think we were getting, like, I can't remember the game, but I was like, all right, this is my chance to finally get back in there. So, anyways, it didn't happen.
I think before you're done, you got to do it once.
I know. Maybe, like, maybe the season, like if the season like keeps going well and like
yeah, you guys clinch first.
we got to rest a bunch of guys. Hey, let me just have one.
Can I go in net actually?
Yeah. Let me back up. Me and Orly give Vino the night off. Me and Orly split it. He gets first, I get second. half, and let's just fuck
Yeah. Man, do you know how fucking crazy the people in Buffalo would be going, knowing that Paulie's in that for the set? Like at halftime, all the lights turn out, and it's just like the Undertaker's music
Yeah,
spotlight on Paulie.
we got to do the reintroduction at half. I get to do the Vino dead sprint right down the floor.
Yeah, the jump up and like point. The Vino does too. You got to do the full routine. But
The only thing, like, I don't want it to be like a safety issue, but I want like some piece of retro equipment on you. Like, I don't want you looking like a normal guy in there.
Yeah,
You know?
I'll just I'll wear no uppers, but I'll have like how about that?
Or just get uppers that are like really like, you know, like self kind of engineered, like you guys used to have to do.
or the
Oh, dude, if you saw the ones I first had, I was legit Optimus Prime Transformer. Like I had football pads with like another arm coming off them, like because like when I first started playing, legit, like we couldn't really afford like the gear. There really wasn't gear, so I had a pair of leg pads, um, like just a normal pair of hockey pants,
Yeah.
and then we really went to like Oakville Minor Hockey, and we like bought their like house league like goalie stuff. So I wore 2 uppers that were like 1980 uppers, and then we went to our high school and they donated football pads, and then I took off one of the arms of one of the unders and attached it, like drilled holes, sewed it on, and then literally like I'd slip my arms into the fucking things, and those my goalie gear. And I wore a player's bucket. I legit, when I was playing minor, I wore a player's bucket, dude.
yes.
Jesus.
Did you have the little chin guard hanging off of it or neck guard?
Oh
hanging off of it? Yeah.
Dude, this mask, you should have seen this mask. It just had fucking holes in it, essentially. Dude, just this big player's bucket. I didn't get a normal goalie helmet till I think junior, dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
Paulie, for people who maybe haven't heard the story, because I think you might have been in the game, but didn't Colin Doyle play like almost a full period as a goalie in a Man Cup game?
Yeah, I wasn't there. So he's Six Nations. Yeah, I can't remember what happened, but I was part of another one where Jeff Summerfield it was a regular season game, but yeah, Doyle did have to play essentially a full Man Cup game. I'm not sure how both goalies got kicked out, whether it was like illegal gear or whatever, and he backstopped him to a win, right?
I think
and
so.
Why are you
yeah.
putting him in? What would be the reason behind? Why would they put like their best player in net?
Because he was a hockey goalie.
Okay.
And I don't know why.
that is absolutely had to have been why. They're like, does anyone have anything that is helpful right now?
So
that's awesome.
I think it might have been my first year major, or maybe I got called up. I can't remember, but I was playing a regular season game for the Brampton Excelsior majors, and it was Patty Campbell and myself. He was starting, I was backing up. Patty Campbell gets in a fight, gets tossed. I get in there, I'm playing. So the aforementioned shin pads I had were the old, I can't remember what they're called, Rebels, the Rebel shin pads they were called. So I didn't have them done up. Like you had the bottom, then you had like the knee. And I just they were like loose. Like I had like strings on them. Anyways, I get called for illegal equipment because they're not tied up. I get the boot. So we put and we were playing Akwesasne or St. Regis at the time. We were up like 14-1. Anyways, Jeff Summerfield, who was like a crazy tough customer, I think they put him in just because like he didn't play that much. He was a monster. And we won the game, but they came back. Like this guy couldn't stop. He couldn't stop shit. He was terrible.
That's awesome.
That is good. And I mean, do we want to? I think it might be a good time to kind of just throw it right in the middle and throw it right over to Manney. What do we think?
Yeah, absolutely. This interview with Brett Manney is brought to you by PO Athletic. PO Athletic is skincare for athletes. They're a new sponsor of the Back of the Bird. We're really happy to have them. Use code BOTB10. BOTB10 gets you 10% off, and we're really excited to be working with them. PO Athletic, they work with Andre DeGrasse. Summer Macintosh, a lot of great Olympic athletes. They have an exfoliating cleanser, a muscle recovery gel, athletic wipes, natural deodorant, lots of good stuff. So go check that out. The link will be in the show notes. Hopefully have some more stuff coming online about it as well. But BOTB10, PO Athletic, looking forward to it.
Brett Manney.
All right, this Newtown, Pennsylvania native has the most games played by an American in NLL history, more than even Greg Downing. He attended Delaware University, where he led the Blue Hens to the Final Four in 2007 before becoming an undrafted free agent for the San Jose Stealth, and then was member of the 2010 championship team, the Washington Stealth. He later played for the Philadelphia Wings before they became the Black Wolves/Firewolves organization. He was recently named as the head of youth development for the Wings. Welcome to the Back of the Bird, Brett Manney.
What's up, boys?
What's going on? Thanks for joining us, brother. How's life? How's the retirement life?
Appreciate retirement life is it's nice. You certainly miss being with the boys, but like I just put my daughter down for a nap. To go to bed. My son just woke up, so I got two kids under 17 months. They're born at like 16 and a half, 17 months apart. So I'm fully in it, and I'm just trying to bring my golf game, lower my handicap. That's what I'm about now. I put down one stick, picked up another, and I've just been trying to like get in the golf game, but can't complain, man. Life's great.
How's the game? Did you play a lot of golf kind of throughout lacrosse or before retirement?
No, it was probably like half a dozen times a year, and then right after COVID, my wife and I moved out to the suburbs. I lived in the city of Philadelphia for 12 to 13 years. And then all my friends like belonged to courses or did something, social members. I'm like, am I missing out on something? And then once I was right before I retired, I joined a place out near me, and I just like fell in love with it, and just chipping away at the game. I'm no Andrew Q, but I'll get there. I'll get there one day.
That's because he plays 36 holes a day.
Guy, I think it was on pace to pay. He was on pace to play. I played with him in October, and I think he was on pace to play 120 rounds. I'm like, how do you even do that? It's unbelievable.
Well, that means he's like 3 or 4 rounds behind Paulie.
I'm 50, but dude, I have the exact same story essentially. COVID, like nothing else to do, and I fell in love with golf. I'll tell you from experience, because I also had 2 kids in 18 months. They're 2 and 3 now. Got a third one on the way. Trust me, you can still get 50. You can still get 50 to 60 rounds this summer. Don't worry. There's
Nap
hope,
time's
baby.
huge.
There's hope. Don't worry, I do it. So there's hope, man. Keep plugging away.
All right. Yeah, I'm living vicariously through you, then, Paulie. If there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, just I'll give you all the excuses, all the things. Just shoot me a text. I got your back.
Paulie's got a full binder of scripts to recite out for each, like depending on the time of the day. If it's a surprise, it's always got to be a surprise round. Like the boys are going, like come on, there's a spot.
As long as you mention like the couple guys, you know what I mean, that the missus likes. Oh, you're going with Paulie Dawson. Oh, no big deal. Enjoy yourself. Have fun.
I haven't seen him for a while. You know, he's in town. I love to catch up with him. He's got a tea time while you're folding laundry, doing dishes.
So true.
Well, I mean, right now you got to be feeling on top of the world with the Eagles rolling right into the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks here.
Oh, the birds are electric. Paulie knows from being in Philly, like it is a sports town. You know, we don't have many like big time college football nearby. Like Rutgers is actually the closest one. It's not Penn State. You can get to Maryland quicker than Penn State, actually. So, you know, we're so big into professional sports, and especially the Eagles. I was at the Steelers game this year. It was awesome. It's just like there's such a vibe. Saquon's a beast. I actually saw him golfing like 2 months ago. His like thighs are like tree trunks. They're huge, and he's just like the nicest dude. And we're just on a run here because the Flyers and Sixers they've just been kind of ass, and the Birds are like putting on a run here. So I hope they do it. It'll be an awesome story. So I mean, it's tough to beat the Chiefs, but It's in the making, so I hope we do it. Go Birds! That's how we were always saying in Philly. Just go Birds. It's like hi. You hold the door for someone. It's just like, hey, go Birds.
I love that.
What'd you do for the first Super Bowl win? Where were you for the first one?
I was still living in the city, and I went to my buddy's place, and obviously I had a few pints and had a great time. And literally, like, so the main street, so you guys know, is Broad Street, and everyone goes to Broad Street, and like open containers, like people are on shoulders. There's babies there. There's 80-year-old women there. And everyone is just having a great time. Like cops are like hands off unless someone does something stupid. But I just remember going to Broad Street and like FaceTiming my parents, and they were down in Florida, and like talking to my dad, and like we're celebrating. And it was like iconic. It was like better than the parade because it was more spontaneous. And all of a sudden the game ended. There was like 10 of us in a house, and we all just like booked to the door. Like no one kind of said anything. It was like door, beers, and like go to Broad Street and like have a blast.
That's awesome.
A little different this time. It'll be a little bit different this time. I'll be celebrating in my backyard.
Yeah.
You'll be the one with the baby. You'll be the one with the baby on Broad Street.
Seriously.
I did just see a video on I think it must have been like locker room celebration. I don't know who was in there taking the video, but they put it on Saquon, and he's got the can in his hand just with a shotgun hole in it, ready to do it. Right away, I went and hammered the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. Like, that's our guy. If there's a guy that's just gunning beers in the room right after winning, and he's just going to roll into the Super Bowl, I think they're going to do it.
He deserves it for sure.
Yeah.
He deserves it. That's awesome.
No doubt.
What an all-time fuck up by the Giants.
Oh, and those clips are so bad of the Giants Hard Knocks. The ones going around of the guys. And do we think anyone else is going to pay him? It's like, oh man, you can't let that get out.
The MVP. He's like, there's an argument for him to be the MVP. I know, like you got Lamar and Josh Allen, but man, like his season was fucking mental, dude.
Dude, they're saying that he's going to probably win Offensive Player of the Year. He won't win MVP. Like he needs like 30 or 40 yards rushing for the most all time, like including the playoffs. So he's almost a shoe-in.
Yeah.
And he could have had it. He pulled himself out of so many games. He could have had like the single game record. He didn't pull himself up. He's like, nah, let the other, like, just seems like an all-time guy, but fuck yeah.
The Giants are down bad, and then because you got the coach's son telling him to pick Jaden Daniels.
Just all horrible.
Guy, like, don't air that. Don't put that out there. We don't need this. But
my in-laws are all like from North Jersey, and we went to the Giants-Eagles game this year in New York, and we were like tailgating and stuff, and I'm just ripping on him the whole time. And her one uncle, like after every game, I just sent him like a Saquon gif, a different one of like Saquon doing something. He's like, screw you, but like I'm happy for him. And he's like, I hate the Eagles, but I love Saquon. So
he's fun. He's one of those guys that's like fun. He's fun to cheer for too. Like you want him to do well. I don't know. Like he just seems like a good dude, but
he's a humble superstar.
Yeah,
it's pretty rare.
Yeah, no doubt. But let's jump into it, man. Let's rewind the clocks a little bit and go back to the beginning. How did you pick up a stick and get into the game?
I was like a late bloomer. I played a bunch of sports growing up, and long story short, my sister was 2 years older. And if I say we, I apologize. I have a twin brother. So my sister was in high school and she started playing lacrosse. And my dad, when we were in like 7th grade, went to Dick's and like grabbed like just factory sticks for us to have a catch with my sister. And not thinking anything of it, we were still playing baseball at the time. And then in 8th grade, they signed us up for like a local rec team. And we played in that and just kind of like caught fire ever since then. It was really cool because my dad grew up in Philadelphia. So like he was a baseball player. So for him to be involved, like he had his baseball glove out and me and my brother would be throwing balls and he would just catch it and throw it back in his mitt. And we would play catch on the front yard with him. So I didn't start really playing until I was 14, 15. And I played 3 sports in high school: soccer, basketball, and lacrosse. My first sport was hockey. I played hockey when I was like 3 or 4 because my neighbor across the street was a hockey coach. And I stopped that in I was like 11 or 12 because my dad said it was too expensive. He was like, fuck, I'm paying, new skates every year, butt pads, rinks are far away from where we were. 2 a days. He's like, I'll buy you guys Jordans every year if you don't want to play hockey anymore. So, and it was cold. Like the rink was like an indoor. You guys would appreciate it. It was like an indoor outdoor rink. Like it was just covered over top, and it had like a concessions room and locker rooms. And me and my brother were so freaking young. We're crying. Our parents like putting our skates on us, and we were the youngest kids out there. There's like a legendary picture of like us like playing with like 7 and 8 year olds. But yeah, and then just played all their sports, and then I got to high school and went to a couple of recruiting camps, and next thing you know, I got the bug for it, and rest is history.
What was the recruiting process then like after kind of you go through high school, you go to those tournaments and stuff? Was there a bunch of schools that you considered or places that you visited?
It wasn't like the big name Division I schools. It was more like mid to lower Division I schools. I went to like a bunch of showcases that like club lacrosse wasn't a thing. So you would go to like a 1 day showcase. You would go to showcase that was like 2 or 3 days. There was one at Maryland called Top 205, which is more like top 500 kids that would be there. And so I did that, but also at the same point in time, like I was playing AAU basketball and summer soccer leagues and doing all this other shit. So yeah, it was Navy, and it was pretty cool because at the time, like John Tillman was at Navy. He was like writing me handwritten letters. Fairfield, Delaware, Bucknell were kind of like my final four. And back then, like it was different. You guys didn't commit till like senior year, and you went on official visits and like partied at every school, and then like figured out like where you wanted to go. So every coach I was like, hey, I just want to finish my basketball season, and then I'll figure out where I'm going to go to school. And then go figure, like, we went to the state championship in basketball. And it was like a week later. It was like April. My mom's like, you're committing to Delaware. Like, I know you want to go there. Just go there. And it was between Delaware and Navy. And then I, like, called up Shilling Law. And I was like, yeah, I'm going here. And went to University of Delaware and had a blast.
We have, a audience on both sides of the border, but I'd say probably more Canadian. People probably don't know about Shilling Law. He was there forever, just retired, I think, a few years ago. Any kind of good stories, just kind of, how can you kind of explain him to people? He's a legend.
Well, first of all, he had like a stash like Paulie, so he was incredible, and we always like called him Bernie Lomax, like Weekend at Bernie's. He's the doppelganger for Bernie Lomax. But he was great. Like I just remember him taking me on my tour. And where he had a minivan at the time, and you're driving by houses, and there's like red Solo cups, and on the ground, you see like girls walk by. It's like, oh, there's like 65% women at the University of Delaware. And I went to an all boys high school, and I was like so horned up. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is incredible. And we used to always like talk like this, like with him, and he had a great personality. He was very like loose at times, but one of like the best things about him was in a game. He was so focused on the game, but he would listen to everything guys would say. So if he was like yelling out plays, he'd be like, oh, bingo, bango. And guys on the sideline would just like say something. They'd be like, 15's offsides. And next thing you'd be like, 15's offsides. So you would just like repeat anything that guys said. So guys would be like, they'd be like, meat and potatoes. And then he's like, meat and potatoes. Like talking to like the refs. Dude,
hey, he's like Ron Burgundy. Awesome. If you put it on the teleprompter, he's going to say it.
Yeah. I will. 100%. Yeah, he was just saying anything that was there. But yeah, he's great. Like he took a chance on me, and I remember him telling me my recruiting story, like how he got me there and the other coaches. But he was we had some awesome teams and incredible teammates when we were there. So that's like just a few snippets. But a couple times, like we would score goals and do like the Weekend at Bernie's dance. And he just thought it was so funny. So he was good, like player coach, I would say, like being able to manage us.
Does a coach like that kind of sticks around for a long time, and this is kind of off the cuff, like does their coaching style change, or are they kind of just like rolling with the punches, same old, like old school lacrosse, same thoughts they've had for the whole time?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same. It's just like he kind of had his offenses and like the defense. He was more like an offensive minded guy. So I think he was just like, hey, it's a 2-3-1, or we ran this 3-3, and it was, hey, get the ball to the middies. Middies dodge hard, like from the midfield, throw the ball, do it. Here's our 3-man up plays. And yeah, he was old school to a T, and like how he coached and his philosophies. But yeah, you like ton of great stories, ton of beauties that were at school there. We certainly made the most of it.
I mean, you guys had a hell of a run in '07. What's talk to us about that? Like, was that something you guys? I mean, we had Curtis Dixon on before and kind of like walked through like the season and stuff. It was a while ago, so there might be new listeners. But did you guys know you had a team to do that, or was that something you learned kind of throughout the season?
We knew we were talented. Like when I was a freshman, we went to the NCAA tournament and we lost to Navy by 2. Our sophomore year, like we ran into Hofstra in our league, and they were gauntlet. Like they were unbelievable. And so then we basically like returned everyone going into our junior year, and then we got a transfer grad student from Georgetown. This guy Rob Smith was like so underrated. He was great. So we had like an elite defender. We had the best faceoff guy. We had Jordan Hall, who was like, in my opinion, one of the top two-way middies in the last 30 years. And then we had an unproven offense. And even Curtis stunk when he started. Like he didn't know how to play field, and they had him at midi. He was like face dodging guys from the midfield line. And I remember talking to Jordan Hall, I'm like, dude, what is up with your buddy? You know what I mean? And he would be rocking like straight CCM gear around campus, like full tracksuit in August. And he's obviously like so pale, and you're just thinking like, oh man, you're so like Western Canadian here. And then finally we had all these injuries, and he got an opportunity, and he like blossomed halfway through the season, where he scored something stupid like 28 goals in 6 games. So we caught fire at the right time because we had a bunch of injuries, and then we finally had everyone healthy and played to our potential. And then we beat Virginia, and then we beat UMBC. And then we lost to Hopkins. I think it was like a 2-1 game at halftime. And they just had more horses. Like we had 2 D middies. We had 2 midfield lines. They were running like 3 middies and 4 D middies. And they had just more depth than us. But pound for pound, like our first 12 to 14 guys were good. And then it was that difference of their next 6 guys compared to our next 6. But it was caught kind of lightning in a bottle there. We knew we had the talent. And it was pretty awesome. Like I think it might be the record for the most people at a Final Four. And I certainly think like Hopkins being there in Baltimore and us being like a Cinderella story, like helped that at M&T Bank in Baltimore.
That's sweet, man.
It was, by the way, the highest ever attended. Yep.
Yeah. I had nothing to do with that. It was all our team, but yeah, it's pretty cool stat.
It's and I mean I've got buddies that I played with at school that are Philly guys, and so I kind of ipso facto kind of got to know quite a few people that went to Delaware, and a guy I spent a lot of time with in the MLL bubbles, Brian Cormandy, who was at Delaware, and all-time beauty, and from what I understand, it's a decent little party school down there. What was that like off the field?
Yeah, Cormandy, he's Colorado's finest. Yeah, Brad was a great player, a lot younger than me, but we crossed over many times, and I'll go back to school and professionally and stuff. It was unbelievable. Like I went to an all boys high school that was like kind of strict and buttoned up, and then I would go there, and like the first weekend was mayhem. I guess the best thing I could tell you is like in the fall we had homecoming was the biggest party day for us, and every year you would try to get more kegs than like the team before. So it was like my freshman year there was like 24 kegs. Sophomore year they're like, we're doing 25, like total meatheads. And it's like the next year we're doing 26. And you would literally like kegs and eggs in the morning. Like every house had like 2 kegs. The main party house had like 12, and then that would get busted up, and then you would go to like other houses, and you basically were like 8 to 2 in the morning. You would like take a nap and wake up and like still be like roaring to go. But yeah, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there was always something to do. And it is in a great spot, just like location wise, between Philly, Baltimore, DC, New York. And you get this like eclectic group of people. You throw a couple Canadians in there, and it's a good time. Yeah, like I love the University of Delaware. It's like Wonderland. and I miss it, but it was fun.
I can't even imagine trying to strap one on for from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. right now. That is that's just I'm just imagining the following week after that. But you're right. It was something you just did, right? Like the mid bender nap is an all time move because you're gonna lose some people, but most of the ones that battle through, they're gonna be the superstars of the day.
And it wasn't a big bar school because the state law closes
Yeah,
the bars down at 1, so last call is 12:45. So therefore, that's why it's a big like house party school. So no matter what you did, like you were at a house till 2, 3 in the morning with like all your buddies like dancing to Daft Punk
yeah.
and like crushing beers on your head and everything. So a lot of natty lights were consumed, and a lot of good times for sure.
Um,
which is way better. Like
yeah.
the bars are good, but bars are always just like it's almost just like a prelude to usually the after party. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we'll
Mhm.
go to the bar for an hour or two, but let's get to the after party. So it's like you guys just skip the after party, just go right, just have it the whole time, which is even better.
And it was cheap. Like I think a
Yeah.
Yeah.
keg
Well,
was
especially at
35
university. Yeah.
bucks. Yeah, so you get 2 kegs of Natty Light for every party. It was like $70, and you never paid unless it goes running out, and then you collected money, found someone to drive over to like the local beer store, and you had one more going. But yeah, that was the other thing too. Like Delaware was so cheap. Like it's one of the cheapest places to drink. Um, but yeah, you would be able to like treat yourself like a king there. Like $20 went a long way. I remember a 30 rack of Natty beer was $9.99. So you could go to the liquor store, put $10 on the table, and come away with 30 beers. It was great.
And then just eat them all, every single one of them, because those things they're water, but they start
The
working around
waters.
number 18. But let's move into kind of post graduation. How does the whole pro indoor career for you start to roll out from an undrafted free agent perspective?
Yeah, so that summer of '08, I was drafted by the Bayhawks in the MLL. And then I played that summer. It was like super funky. Like I got drafted. I missed my graduation to go play in a game. And then like I didn't play for like 6 weeks straight because back then you could only have 3 long sticks and 4 D middies. So they basically like made everyone play D midi, even though like they drafted me to play D midi. There was like a long ball. They're like, you're going to try a game at D midi. Another like close defenseman, you're going to try a game at D midi. So it was like a super awkward, funky phase of like playing like professional lacrosse when you go from like playing with your boys in college to now like, this kind of glorified beer league. And I was driving down to DC and I was spending my basically per diem, like going out in Georgetown. To then like Doug Locker called me up, who was also the GM of the Dragons. And was like, hey, like, know your career this summer, watch you play, blah, blah, blah. Gave me the runaround. One of my good buddies at Delaware is like, hey, you should try playing box, da, da, da. So I put my name in, and I had like multiple conversations with Doug Locker. He's probably the only guy that called me, like thinking about it. He's like, hey, we're going to pick you up. We're going to draft you. I'm waiting there in draft day, like crickets. I don't get anything. And then the next day he calls me. He's like, hey, we're going to pick you up as like a free agent. And uh, then they flew me out to San Jose. I think it was like the year after you left, Paulie. And I came out there with like no rib pads, like small elbow pads, typical stupid ass American, and just kind of like fought my way on and kind of made it from there. Like kind of grinded my teeth, but I loved it. Like I was a hoopster, so kind of reminded me of basketball, and we had some talent. We had a good team, so it was just like playing with a chip on my shoulder. I wasn't coming out of like a Virginia or like one of these natural blue blood schools. It was Delaware, and I didn't really know anybody. I knew Jordan Hall, but he was in New York at the time. So it was certainly like transition, doing it, but I fell in love with the game and all the guys like pretty quick.
Did you like how did you find the transition? Did you find that like your basketball background helps you like defensively? Like you help because like that's the biggest thing for most Americans is just getting used to kind of the system of like, but it is very basketball esque. So did you find that like helped you?
Yeah, that was like the biggest thing is like if I saw a pick, I'm like, all right, I can put my hand out here. If someone's like, hey, pick right. I could like put my hand out like in hoops and then I'll just like quick like grab and toss and now you're around the guy. Or like they would be like, hey, you can hit this dude. Like, you don't have to just like, lay him. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And we had great guys on that team, and great leaders. Like from an offensive standpoint, like Colin Doyle took me under his wing and tried to teach me a lot. And Doyley was awesome. And then some of the D guys, like a couple of Peterborough guys, Kyle Sorsen, Mike Grimes. These guys were like, I was in the lineup every day, and they were just trying to do everything they could to help me. And I credit a lot to those guys, and an older American, Eric Martin, who people have talked about before. He was a legend, and he kind of like helped me as well, like adjusting, because two guys that kind of were from non-hotbed areas playing lacrosse that were just really athletes, and he like kind of helped me like fine tune my game, and kind of took off with like the help of a lot of Canadians and him in particular.
He's an all-time fucking beauty, E-Marts. He is the man.
I don't know if you guys have seen it. Like, if you have to like YouTube Eric Martin highlight clips. And there's this one highlight I'll never forget. It's probably the best play I've ever seen on a lacrosse field. We're in Portland, which like they should bring a team back. That place was awesome to like go play a game.
Yeah.
And he is getting a loose ball. He like jumps up on their bench. He puts like 1 foot up on like the Lumberjacks bench, snags the loose ball, and like someone's cherry picking. It might have been like Reese Dutch, and he just like fires it down to Reese Dutch, who's like 1-0 and is like goal. And then I think in the same game, he like gets it and he's on a breakaway on his wrong side, and he just like cradles across the front and finishes, and he's like telling like this to the crowd. He was like a maniac. But he certainly was. He was nasty. Like as a lefty, he would do things where he was just doing his own thing. Like sometimes he wasn't within a defensive system, but he could get away with it because he was just so talented and talk shit. He would fight, but deep down he had like a good heart. Especially we had a lot of like young Americans, so he would always like take us under his wing. I'll never forget one of the first games. I think it might have been like second weekend. We're in Calgary, and we're at like Earl's or somewhere, and he's already there, and it's like me and a bunch of other Americans, and he comes over to our table. He's like, "What are you bitches doing? Like there's no 48-hour rules here in the pros." He's like, "Get yourselves a glass of wine," and because he's like coming over with a glass of wine, I'm like, "Dude, this is great." So he's like, "These guys all need a cab. Let's get a bottle cab for these guys." I'm
That's
like,
great.
welcome to the pros. We had to pay for it, but he was
he wasn't gonna be that nice.
Oh, he was little alligator arms there.
Funny story about E-Marts. He punched out my brother in an exhibition game. Yeah.
In an exhibition game.
Wow.
That can't be a long list of guys, Paulie.
No.
What's that? What exhibition game? Sorry, what was it?
No, I said that can't be a long list of guys who have done that.
No. So like classic is like B Manney said, he's a lefty. So, and again, he was like reckless and talk shit. So I'd have to ask my brother, but it's a funny story because everyone still gives it to him to this day. But anyways, because like, oh, you got beat up by a fucking American, but he squares up with him and didn't know he was a lefty. So just fucking right off the bat, bink, fucking buckled him and fucking went down.
That's tough. That's the unknown lefty has been known to get a lot of guys. That's a scary thing to hear happen. But what was the whole kind of situation like when the team moved? Like, were you guys in the loop on that, or was it just one of those kind of old school lacrosse things? Get an email and it's like pack up, boys.
Yeah, it was an interesting dynamic because if I remember correctly, I mean San Jose was like, the place is massive, and we would get crickets. There was like 1,500 people there. It was bad. And then so obviously like there was word of like, hey, we might move and where we're gonna go. And basically, I think the owner pinned like the GM, who was Johnny Meridian Gypsy. They pinned Gypsy against Doug Locker, and they both had presentations. And Doug Locker had Everett, Washington, and I think Gypsy had Langley, I think was his. So he lost out. Locker won. Locker kept his job. The Gyps moved to wherever the Gypsy went on to, and then I think they kind of told everyone from there. But it was cool. Like the San Jose kind of experience was great. It was always like 70. The owner was awesome. She had a Christmas party every year and like gave us nice gifts. But it wasn't until we got to like Everett which is crazy. I'll never forget. We traded Doyler, who was like our whole team. He was like an incredible leader. He like motivated me, like would get on me at times and stuff. And I remember we traded him. He's like, hey, and we played Toronto that year, my rookie year, and they sucked. And he's like, hey guys, like I'll see you in the championship the next year. I'm like, go fuck yourself, dude. Like you're going to Toronto, they blow, you know. And then the next thing you know, we got Luke Wiles, Lewis Ratcliffe. We had a high draft pick that year, like Matt Beers came in, and we went on this like great run, and we won the whole thing. We ended up playing Toronto that year in the championship. So you're like, shit, I'll never forget like his email. I'm like, dude, you were right. Like you went to Toronto and like turned the ship around pretty fast, which is like pretty cool.
What
Dude,
sticks
you
out
want
to you the most about that run?
It kind of sucked. Like in the very first game, like first or second shift, I dislocated my elbow. Um, so I was out for like 6, 7 weeks, and we went on a tear. And from that point in time, like coming back was hard for me personally because I was like trying to get in the lineup. And the year before, I played in every game except the first one, and now here I am, like trying to earn my spot back and everything like that. But for me, like I was flying across country from Philly to Seattle every week, but it didn't matter because we just had like such great group of guys. The offense was so talented. Like Lewis had a great year. Luke Wiles had an awesome year. Reese Dutch was in his second year. Jeff Sawicki. Like we just had a lot of guys that could put the ball in the back of the net, and our D was like so stellar. And Tyler Richards was great. And we just had this incredible blend of like Canadians and a few Americans that all like kind of blended well together and had fun. And I think at one point in time, I think we might have started off like 8-0 before we actually lost the game. So it was good. I mean, that game we had an overtime game against Edmonton where like Rabel got the loose ball, like it
Yeah.
got one back to him, and he beat like three guys and then like dipped and dunked at the Key Center in Seattle. Like that was pretty cool. And then winning the championship was awesome. It's funny because my wife was asking me about this recently. She's like, "When did you win? Like, what year was that?" I was like, "Oh, 2010." And then you think like you're gonna get back or get close to it, and it never happened for me. And at the time, I was young. I was like 24, and I stopped playing when I was 37, 38, and I never got to sniff that. And then after that year, I asked them to like trade me back to the East Coast just because the commute was too much. But those guys that were on the team, like some of the aforementioned like defenders, were so crucial in helping like an American kind of learn the game, and they made me really appreciate the box game and like just Canadians in general.
You want to hear a funny story about the owner, Denise Watkins? So when I got there, it was like a year or two before. But when San Jose first came in, they were owned by the Sharks, and then the Sharks like got rid of them. And I think when they first came in, they were doing okay, like attendance wise. Anyways, as the story goes, is she calls to like renew her season ticket. She was a season ticket holder, and I don't know, somehow Gypsy Meridian gets on the phone and he's like, yeah, well, I think we're folding. We don't have an ownership. And she's like, okay, just hold on a sec. Goes back, like talks to her husband, and instead of renewing her season tickets, buys the team.
No way.
Yeah.
That is
It's
awesome.
awesome.
That's
That's
a rock star.
badass.
Yeah.
That is.
I wonder if the ticket sales guy that picked up that phone call got the commission on that deal, because that's a hell of a pull for him. Holy
Yeah.
smoke!
Yeah.
Is this the same? Am I getting stories confused? Wasn't there like someone who was like dating the owner of the team or something?
No, that's in Portland. That's Portland. And they're married. Like, yeah, Adam Bysouth and Angela Bysouth. But she was kind of the same thing. It was her dad's money, but she was the one that bought Portland. And then, yeah, he was dating her, like, kind of like right off the bat. And then, like, yeah, they're married. They're still married, have kids and stuff. I don't know where they are. My brother would know more because he was on the team.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like, that was like the phase of the league where, like, we were selling teams to, like, anybody. And people had money, but not, like, fuck you money. And again, she was great. She was always around, like, down to earth, and she tried to hold on for as long as she could and like move the team multiple times, but tried like her best to keep the team afloat. Like she was definitely like you would know more than I would be, but she was great as far as like, you have some, tragic owners who are nickel and dime. The only one who really was nickel and dime was Gypsy, but she was always like
Yeah.
being really good to everybody.
Guys would like go around Gypsy to like go to Denise, if
That's
he
what
was like
yeah,
short selling them on contracts and everything like that. She'd be like, oh, like you need an extra this or that, or you want to fly first class. She's like, no big deal. I think
yeah,
her company was like Seagate. Her husband's was Seagate. It was like big
yeah,
into like tech,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she had like a ton of coin because then when she sold the team, twice she would just fly up to games, like every game she was at. And
Yeah.
it was like so nice to you, knew everybody, and was super accommodating.
Dude, when you were in when Gypsy was around, did you guys ever do the team meals and then he would come around? All right, guys,
The money.
the team's picking up a meal, but you guys just got to get the tip, or you just got to pay for your. Do you ever get that from him?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he was. I mean, and the funniest thing was, we were away in like a game somewhere. We like Denver, and I think they have a restaurant called Gypsies. And like, I'm like just a young dumb American, and being a little obnoxious. I remember us driving the bus like after the game past this place called Gypsies, and I didn't know that like everyone called that like behind his back at the time. And I'm like, "Hey, Gyps!" And then he like quick turns around, I'm like, "Look at your bar, Gypsy!" And like everyone starts dying laughing. And Doyle was like, Doyle or some other veteran was like, "Yo, big!" Like he doesn't know like that's really his nickname. And then from that moment on, like I was like, I don't give a shit, like this is great. He's like a total Gyps. But yeah, he would totally give off those vibes of, hey, like I'm gonna go around. He's collecting the money. You're thinking like the team's paying for it. It's like, yeah, if everyone could just chip in like $5 or something like that, and we'll cover the rest. And you were just like, what? What kind of mouse show is this?
Talk to us a little bit about, like, I mean, obviously you mentioned it a little bit, but requesting that trade to back to the East Coast, make travel a little bit easier. How does all that shake down? Did you know it was going to be Philly, and after you found out, how pumped were you?
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I kind of gave him and it was, if we didn't win, I wouldn't have like approached them like that because I wanted to stay with the team. But I was just like, hey, like I have a job, like it's just getting stressful. Is if you could just like trade me to the East Coast, like Philly would be preferred, but I'm not going to force your hand here. Like I wasn't like our leading point scorer and felt like I had a ton of weight. I was just trying to be civil, and yeah, they ended up trading me straight up. I think for Bobby Snyder because he was on the wings at the time. They drafted him because of Jeff. Jeff was on the wings, and so then yeah, I got traded back to Philly, and it was awesome. Like it was so much fun. I think Paulie was there like my first year or second year. And the first year we sucked. Like we weren't very good. We had like a ton of Americans, and we were just like trying to find our way. And for me personally, I was like, this kind of sucked. Like leaving like a winning franchise to dealing with some of the things that were going on. Like they were nickel and diming on certain things, and from flights to meals. And I just got taken really good care of. And now I'm like, oh, is this how it's going to be? Like on the other side, like of the country, this is how like you treat them. But it was cool because like almost every game, I had a ton of friends and family that were coming to games, and I got to play in front of them. So it was like just like kind of a 1-for-1 trade, and it was great to play there. But certainly it sucked going from like winning and then kind of like taking my lumps that first year for sure. Then it wasn't until Dan came over and he kind of like changed the culture there, and really helped us like whatever for that year or two in Philly, and that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, we were close. We were close that one year. We lose to Roch or Buff, but we had a good team. I think we were maybe a couple games above 500, but that's when like Mundy, Westy, like all those guys were kind of coming into their own. Like Ned Crotty, like the American experience was kind of like working, but then all those guys left like the next year, and I think we went back to being dog shit again, and then we were just tragic again.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we lost to Roch, and like, dude,
Yeah,
talking about like what a beauty like your brother is. We were playing in Roch in that game, and I think our like tagline, like kind of internally, was like the Red Army,
yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah,
Russian
yeah.
army and everything. So I'll never forget. We show up to the playoff game, and there's all these red shirts on the table, and Dan went and he made all these red shirts that said like Red Army in Russian, and then on the back was like that Russian logo,
Yeah.
like the Russian logo, like the spear, whatever's on there,
I
and
totally
you kind of
forgot
spin it
about
up.
that.
Yeah, you like put it on, you're like, oh, like this is kind of weird. I mean, it's Russia, and then also be like, no, fuck it. Like Dan bought these, like what a beauty and a legend. And I thought that alone was going to help us win. I think Rochester had our number there for a few years. It was a
Yeah.
close game. I think you ended up losing by one. Like fucking
Yeah.
Vino was like lights out, and Roch had a strong team. But yeah, there was like certainly some really good Americans that were like playing during that time, which made it fun. And you need some Americans, but you didn't need, like the next year or two, we had too many.
Yeah.
And that kind of was our downfall there in Philly.
That's
I'll
you
say,
heard it here first. Dan Dawson's a huge Putin guy.
yeah,
But
he's an absolute communist.
this is something I found out not long ago, and it's a guy that you would have played with there, but led the league in shorthanded goals in his rookie year. Bill McGlone. What do you remember about that guy? Because I started like after I heard the name and somebody like tweeted back at me and told me that. Kind of looked him up, saw his Twitter picture. It's like him, just no gear on, blood on his face. Like what? It just looks like super old school NLL guy. What was that guy like?
Billy Mack, Philly boys. So we kind of bonded from that like Philly perspective. When you guys hear about Philly fans, it's like, oh man, they're from Delco. Billy McGlone was from Delco. It's like the county, just south of the stadium. And awesome athlete, like unbelievable basketball player in high school. Went to Maryland, lefty, like super athletic. And then, but I think like when Mundy started to come in and like be a force, and there was another lefty we had, I can't think off the top of my head, but they kind of like pushed McGlone like down the kind of list, and then they tried him at defense. And I don't know if you were on the team or not, Paulie, but it was
I
like
was.
the last year in Philly or the second to last year in Philly. We had a game against Vancouver, and like Evan Kirk couldn't make the game. He was like deathly sick. So we put in our backup. He's a Peterborough guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he had to play, and we needed another goalie, and they made it Billy McGlone. They like flew out Billy McGlone, and he was like our reserve goalie, who's never taken any shots before. So here we are in like warm ups, like warming up Billy McGlone. Dude was like shitting himself. I felt so bad, like from being like an electric American midfielder attackman to now like putting on the pads to being our backup goalie. It ended up being a great story. We ended up winning the game out in Vancouver, so Billy never had to play. But I think we might have gave him like a game ball or something just for shooting it up, because it would have been bad if he had to go to the game.
Dude, he was Lomi. He was sick, but another funny story, like, yeah, he kind of got, like, when Gypsy took over, he kind of got screwed over. Like you said, we had some, like, good lefty offensive guys. So, yeah, he was kind of like D. Tranny. Dude, and Gypsy, so he was a lefty by trade, but he was, like, pretty fluent both hands. Dude, Gypsy would be moving him side to side, like, hey, this shift, like, go play righty-o. And then same thing on D. He's like, hey, if you're going to guard the righties, make sure you have your stick in your left hand. If you're going to guard the righties, like, so this poor guy, and again, like, fucking amazing guy. He'd be fucking playing right hand offense, left hand fucking D. Like, dude, and we'd be like, us Canadians, we'd be like, dude, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? And we like talk to Chips, like, dude, you can't be doing this to this guy. Like, he's
You're
fucking
putting him in a
just let him.
blender.
No, it's like, it's great. You do both hands. It's like, holy fuck, dude.
Yeah, the poor guy's head was like scrambled eggs, like trying to figure
Oh,
this fucking out. It was
yeah,
bad. I mean, they had some like weird shit that they did during that time there. Like at one point in
yeah,
time, they went to guys, they're like, you can't cross center, you can't cross center, you can't cross center. And you're just like, what? So guys would be like holding the ball, and like you might have thought like you were going to get electrocuted if you went over center. They're like, these three guys can transition the ball.
yeah. It was.
And then they had like D guys play offense some games. It was chaotic, some of like the coaching strategies that went in there, hence like why we struggled. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was wild.
We also weren't allowed to stand up on the bench
You had to sit down.
because Chips. Yeah,
Gypsy
because
was so small.
yeah, and if you look at like especially our D back then, man, it's like it was like me, you, McFad's, like dude, everyone was like 6'5", 6'6", Brody.
Yeah,
So
units.
dude,
Yeah, we had some horses.
And Gypsy's like, what is he, like 5'6" maybe? So, dude, it'd be hilarious. Like, everyone would be up on the bench, like, you're standing up, like, in the game. Guys, sit down. I can't see. So then everyone have to fucking sit down like you're in kindergarten and, like, just lose all your momentum just sitting on the bench, like, looking back and forth. It was fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we did have a big D line considering like Portland was like the standard. And yeah, we had
Yeah,
a bunch of guys like over 6'3", 6'4" that were
yeah.
playing. And yeah, little Gyps.
Poor Gypsy. What do you remember about Paulie's absolute heater that year? 5 goals, 9 assists, basically running stuff. Do you remember anything about Paulie putting the ball in the net?
I want to say like, was it Colorado? Like you had their number, like you would have like
Yeah.
one or two Genos against Colorado. Uh, And then like Paulie had like soft hand, like a lot softer hands than you would expect. I mean, coming from someone that didn't, like Paulie would just have like super like slick hands and tranny, and you're just like fuck. Like, and we needed like when he scored those goals, like we needed them. There were a lot of times where we struggled to put the ball in the back of the net, and Paulie would come through. And was that the most points you ever had? Was
Yeah.
like that year in Philly? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Got the green
It was a
light, and
good
I
run.
took full advantage of it.
Yeah, January.
It was like It was like Fred Flintstone running, but like you fucking made it work. And then you
Yeah.
get down there, and it's just like bump goal, pump goal. So I mean, as you guys like, I mean, 2-0 guys. Anytime a D guy scores, like it lights up the whole team and bench, and even like certain guys, as you know, like if certain guys are scoring goals, like team guys and dudes that you love, like it adds like an atmosphere to the game. It's like a huge dunk in basketball. It's like if that D guy scores,
Yeah,
like it could totally turn the game around.
100%. And like even I mean this year, obviously I've been doing a lot more watching of games. It's like it's palpable through the TV, like, and maybe it's because like you kind of know, right, what it feels like. But I remember seeing like Luke Magnon scored a goal for Ottawa earlier this year, and like the whole place went nuts. Paulie's just now scoring at will, so it's losing its luster a little bit, but it's still yeah, like one of those things that's just, especially a guy that might be more of your stay at home like defenseman, goes down and no one's playing him and just scores one. It gets the good boys going just as much as maybe a fight would.
Yeah, January
Yeah.
January 22nd, 2011, at Philadelphia 11, Colorado 10. Paulie has 2 goals and an assist in a road victory over the Mammoth.
That, I mean, what's
The game.
no
The game.
there was
And
no
a,
beer.
and
Beer
a-
was safe post game.
Wow, and the last one was the game. The second one was the game winner with a minute and a half left.
You should have saw him post game. All right.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah,
imagine.
we'll save that for another pod. We'll save that for another pod. We
Actually,
called him
guys,
post game Paulie. We called him post game Paulie.
What was that
So-
bar that like in Colorado that it's like something View or something like that? It's like a rooftop bar almost. I forget the name
Yeah.
of it, but
I forget
It's
the name, but yeah, it does
that's
have like the rooftop up there.
yeah.
And a 2-minute slashing penalty in there too, by the way, just for good measure.
I know the game now. I know the actual goal. I scored on my wrong side. Actually, it was hilarious. But
We're gonna have to find the clip.
yeah, I'll find it. Don't worry. I have it saved in my archive somewhere.
Yeah,
but
he's got a VHS, a framed VHS.
I remember.
Do you guys
when I
remember all the
first-
goals?
When I first came to Philly, we never went out, and I was kind of like, "Oh, this place kind of sucks." Like we stayed out by the airport, and then B, you came in, and I remember being like, "Yes," like we would just kind of be in and out drinking in the hotel, and even like on the road, like I never went out in Philly, and then once you came, like, no, like I'll show you the places, and like, dude, Philly is electric, and then yeah, that's where post game Paulie came out. But dude, I actually like Philly is a sneaky, like amazing city. Like love it. But this guy had all the spots. This guy was the king of Philadelphia. Like knew everyone, knew everywhere to go. So it was unbelievable. Like so he just opened up the city of Philadelphia for me. So it was unbelievable.
Yeah, we have some good like post game spots. I would take the boys to, and we would have a blast. A few people inside. You like bounce around between 2 or 3 spots, and
Yeah.
you were golden. You were golden in Philly back in the day. It was great. Now it's more simple. Like guys, just go to like Xfinity Live.
That's just topically speaking. Are you a big Mummers guy?
I like mummers. I mean, I think as I got gotten older, I like stopped doing the whole New Year's Eve thing. So for you guys that don't know, mummers is like this parade on New Year's Day So it's basically a bunch of like South Philly people. They all belong to like this different, let's call them frats. And then they practice for like months and they go in this parade and they're all wearing like all this garb and face painted and they do this parade around Philadelphia. And then it ends at like 2 o'clock and they go to what's called 2 Street, 2nd Street in Philadelphia, like in South Philly, and they just party the whole time. Like you can go in and out of people's houses. There's like a ton of Italians. And you go, like, you have to do it like a few times to totally enjoy it. I did it like once or twice, and it's fun. It's like certainly like a day drinking thing. You got to take it easy the night before to totally appreciate the mummers, but it's one of those like Philly traditions that you kind of have to do. It's fun. It's great. Like Jason Kelsey, if you guys saw the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
like the parade, that he was in a mummer's outfit. That's
Oh,
what it was
okay, okay, and that makes sense. Okay,
like.
perfect.
Yeah.
So the team, I mean, after that, you go to the Black Wolves. Is that did the team move there? How did you get there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
team move.
they moved. Yeah, and I like found out I was running a tournament, and someone's like, "Hey, like your team just moved," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then I got a phone call, and I was like, "Shit!" And automatic. Then the next thing you know, I was talking to our GM, Rich Lisk, and he's like, "Oh, we're moving the team to Connecticut. We're gonna play out of a casino." And my first thought was like Atlantic City, like shithole. We're gonna play in like some dump. And I remember going to the Mohegan like for the first time. I'm like, this place is incredible. It was super nice and clean, and it was just like a great spot to be at. But it was a tough, to be honest. Even though we were the same team, we had a lot of new guys. Like Paulie wasn't there. I forget if you left that year or the year before. Like so, Paulie, Dan, Brody was out, and they just went on this mission to get like a lot of new guys. And I was just like the most seasoned guy going into that year, and I was like my job. I like have to miss a ton of training camps because I'm running like lacrosse tournaments and recruiting events during like that November time frame. So I'll never forget like uh, going to like training camp and I missed 2 or 3, and they were all pissed off, even though like this has been my MO for the last couple of years, and like not recognizing so many guys that were on the team. It was just like a different vibe and culture. Um, and I clashed with the coaches to start the year because we had new coaches too, like this guy Blaine Harrison, TK, and Jimmy Milligan. So I kind of was like clashing with them a little bit to start the year, and then I mean, we sucked. We won like 5 or 6 games that year, but they did a great job of taking care of us. Like for you guys that went to the Mohegan, Donnie, you might have been too young, but it
It
was
was under.
awesome. Like they
Yeah, it was
it
good.
was unreal. They would pick me up in a limo, food, drink, drive me to the arena. Then everything's connected, like bars, restaurants. The hotel was all in the arena, was all in the casino, so you never went outside. So like I never packed a winter coat. I was only outside from like the limo to the casino, and then the casino to the limo in the morning. And then in the morning, when I drove back to the airport, they had like pillows for you, orange juice, like whatever you wanted. And then going into the second year, I ended up finding out that like the WNBA team they had like cards to go in the employee cafeteria. So I go to our GM, I'm like, why don't we have that? He's like, oh, good point. So then I negotiated all the players to get these cafeteria cards. So then like we didn't have to pay for any food because sometimes when you got in, like it's a casino, so you're trying to eat dinner and it was like an hour and a half wait. So we
Yeah,
ended up getting these cafeteria cards. Like we would slide underneath the building, and they had this legit like buffet cafeteria that we would be able to eat at. Like it was open 24 hours. So like we would eat there at all times. Like go out after a game, like you would be eating at the cafeteria like 2 or 3 in the morning during the changeover, like eating breakfast, and then like getting out. There's like, and I'm not going to mention a guy. I got a great story. Uh, the one night, like the team guys came in late and they went right to the cafeteria, and it was like 3 in the morning, and it's called shoot arounds like at 8 or 9. So this guy was hungry, and there's like an omelet station, and he's like, yeah, I want like I want bacon, like bacon in the omelet, and the guy's like, no, 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 we don't like put the bacon in the omelet, and the guy's like, no, 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 I want the bacon in the omelet, and the chef's like, no, we don't do that. Like the bacon's on the side. You don't get to put it in the omelet. The guy takes the bacon out and starts throwing it at him. I'm not going to mention who he is because everyone knows it, but he starts throwing. He's like, I want the bacon in the omelet. And it's like chucking like bacon strips at this guy at like 3 a.m. And you're just like, oh my God, we're going to lose this privilege. Like they know who we are. We're
Yeah.
going to lose this privilege in there. But mostly everyone was well behaved. But that story of and he was like dead sober because they just like got in late and he's just throwing bacon across. Oh my God, it was awesome.
I have a reasonable guess as to who that is, but
Yeah.
I mean, going through those years, you guys had you had, after that year had pretty decent teams, and then moving in, I think the 1 year you guys did pretty well, lost in the playoffs and Buffalo's run to it, and then season cut short when kind of Callum's having that great year with COVID. But maybe talk to us a little bit about kind of that move to Albany. Was that like, again, you've seen this happen a couple times with, whether it's changing teams or a team relocating. What was that whole process like?
Yeah, that was interesting because like New England, like we had a great fan base. The place only sat like 7,000, but we would get like 5,500, 6,000 people there. So we had like a great crowd. People were coming to games, like wearing jerseys and knew the guys. And it was like, there's not a ton around there. So they really kind of like bought into the team. And then there was like change in the tribal council there. So we kind of lost our guy who vouched for us. So they were basically like a business decision. Like we can have a concert in here and we can get all the hotel rooms and we can extra like 2,000. We're just going to do that. And then they sold us. And it was a shame because that year, like the COVID year, I think we were like 8-3.
Yeah.
Croft was having an awesome year. We had Joey Rez, Steph, Riley O'Connor. We had like a young Andrew Q. Our defense was like, we had a bunch of horses back there that were really good. So, and Dougie was playing awesome. That was like Dougie's first year as a starter. And then that kind of ended it. That's like a what if year that it sucks. And then the next year, Croft leaves in free agency to go to New York. A few other guys kind of left. And it's weird, like going to Albany when they didn't know the team. Like we were unaware of the situation and we did the best we could to like kind of muster that. But it was also weird, like COVID, because you're wearing masks all the time. We couldn't like leave the hotel. Like team bonding stuff was really awkward. So that year, I think we were like a little bit above 500, and we lost to Buffalo in the first round. And then they kind of blew the team up after that. Like the best things I would say about those New England into like Albany, like we just had an awesome locker room. Like great dudes. Kangaroo courts were legendary. We had some other games that like can't talk about here on the pod, but like it was epic. Like some of the guys we had like veterans, young guys, middle guys, and we all got along. Like the best part, like you went out, like everyone went out. Like we would be at breakfast, like it was a veteran with a rookie, and there were like no cliques, and everyone like really cared for each other, and I think like that bond still lasts. And so moving to Albany, we had that, and then the next year, then Resi left. They traded Q. They traded O'Connor. And it was like a total kind of a rebuild, which was my final year there, which was really tough. But they did the best they could to like try to make it a great experience. And I love what they're doing now. But that first year was totally a transition for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the decision to step away. Again, there's kind of, from a career perspective, there's two ways it can end. It can be kind of your call or be someone else's call when you're going to a camp or whatever. Like, well, did you know going into that last year that was going to be it?
I actually thought it was going to be the year before was going to be my last year. And then that last year, like I had a bunch of guys like that, we would talk all during the summer, like Ocon and QZ, and, you're talking to all these dudes are like, you're coming back, right? You're coming back. And I'm sure, Paula, you've gotten this situation. You hit like a certain age and, every year you're like, oh, it's not like 3-year deals when you're 35. They're all like 1-year deals. And it kind of comes down to you. So that last year, I'm like, oh, I'll come back to play with all these guys. And then they made a bunch of trades. And I'm like, well, I'm in it. One of my best friends, Laffy, was still there. And GD and Dougie was our goalie. I still thought that like we had potential to do something. We started off the year like 2-0. And then kind of shit hit the fan. But it didn't really come until like after that year. And it was a really tough year because like we lost a lot of games. A bunch of like my close friends weren't on the team anymore. And I was just like looking at the future. And it's like, all right, that next year, do I go back to Albany? Do I go to Philly? Do I go to New York? Like San Diego came in last minute, and then I was just like, I had my daughter at the time. She was young, and I just started to see like the door closing, and I was like, you know what? I kind of ended on a high note, like personally, like health wise and everything, and playing. And I noticed like I was going to start to lose a step, and I'm like, that's not in my game anymore. So I might as well go out now and not be forced out by like getting hurt. But those coaches that were over there and a lot of those guys in that locker room were great, which is why like last year they had an awesome year. This year they have some tough losses, but they had a fantastic locker room that was over there, and the front office started to like understand some stuff. But it's always a tough decision to walk away when you care about it so much and care about the guys, and to pump some Canadian guys' tires. Like, you guys just appreciate the game so much more, and to walk away from a locker room of guys that really care about the game, and they have an interest in your family and your wife and everything like that. Like, that meant a lot. And so it wasn't an easy decision, and it was certainly like an emotional one for me to do it. But at the time I felt like it was the right thing to do. And, I don't regret it. I wish I could play this game for forever, but father time doesn't wait for anyone. And I just felt like it was my time.
Yeah.
And now look at you, the all-time games leader, American, which is fucking crazy to think.
Yeah.
Like where you came from, and like some of the Americans we've had in this game, you're the all-time games leader, man. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. Do you guys know like Bobby?
And it's well deserved too. Like, it's fucking, you were a horse.
Appreciate it. Do you guys remember Bobby Clark played on the Flyers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? So Bobby Clark is like the face of the Flyers for years. So I'll tell a quick story. So I used to valet at a restaurant down the Jersey Shore, and Bobby Clark came in one time, and he had this awesome tattoo on his arm, and it was a maple leaf with like the Flyers logo, like the Flyers colors in it. You know what I mean? That he's like, I'm Canadian, but like I'm a Philly Flyer. So many times I'm like, I don't have any tattoos. I'm like, should I just get like a maple leaf with like the American flag in it? Like, I feel like so many times I have like dual citizenship. Like, looking at people like, oh, you travel a lot. I'm like, my passport is like Toronto. Like, you ever been to Scarborough? It's beautiful in the wintertime,
That's a good story, man. And it's I mean, we've had you for a while, man. And again, an unreal career. I don't know if you listened to the last episode, but we're thinking about getting some stem cell injections for GD because he wants to try to break your games played record. But
you got him by 6 games. So if he comes back,
I got him by 6.
You're gonna have to get more stem cells. And
I saw you had him on. He's a total beauty. He's another guy that, like, because he doesn't have social media or like didn't play at a big time school, like GD is an awesome lacrosse player. Like, if they're like, hey, you got to play a 2-man game with someone, I would go in that foxhole with GD like every day of the week. Such an awesome guy. Like, was he late? Did you tell him like the right time? Like, I always say he's always on like mountain time. So he's like 2 hours late. He's always late to everything.
He was on time. I think he was on time. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we had him on time. But we've had you for a while. We want to kind of finish off with 3 questions that we try to run by. 2 questions that we usually run by guys, and now we've kind of got like a new segment which is really thought provoking, I think. So first one is, throughout your career, did you ever have any like weird gear habits or like a super old piece of gear that you've hung on to for the whole run?
I feel like I always just kept like I had like kidney pads that were like Reebok ones for a while, and I kind of wore them down until like the straps fell, and then I had like the Under Armour. One weird thing is, like, as a D guy, being in America, I never wore bicep pads. Guys thought like I was crazy, but I was never used to wearing like bicep pads. So if anyone was smart enough to play against me, like, they would just chop me right here, like, every single time. I'd never had bicep pads, but other than that, nothing like in particular. Other than I had these Reebok kidney pads for a while. Like, they had sleeper decent box gear.
That's exactly what GD said. He also wore the Reebok kidney pads for a long
Really?
time. So, yeah.
You want it, kids. You want to play a long time in this league. Go buy go find the Reebok kidney pads. And then the second one is what's the inspiration behind your jersey number, if any?
When I was a young kid, I was like trying out for a soccer team, 6 or 7, and they're picking out numbers, and they give like, they're going in chronological order. Like 12 is Jimmy, 13 is going to be Tommy, and Tommy's like, whatever. I'm just making up the names. Like, I don't want 13. It's unlucky. So I was like, fuck it. Like, I'll take it. Like, give it to me. I'll make it unlucky. And then I just stuck with 13 ever since.
That's sweet. I like it. And then this is Donnie's idea for a question, but I'll just kind of give the prelude to it. But this question is brought to you by KELO, the official beverage partner of the NLL and Back of the Bird from an athletic perspective. We've got our vodka soda guys. But Donnie, you want to go ahead and ask that last one?
Yeah, just any. Is there anything? Do you have any regrets from your career? Is there anything? If you could get a do-over, maybe what's one thing you'd change?
One thing I would change is, I guess I'm not going to put the blame solely on myself, but like when I was in college, I obviously played with Canadians. Jordan Hall was like a year above me. I wish like I would have prodded him a little more to maybe like my freshman or sophomore year to like go to British Columbia and like play on New West with them. I always joke around. I'm like, that would have been awesome. Like, go up and spend like a summer up in Canada. Because my freshman year at Delaware, I was in O-Midi, like scout team superstar. I got to do whatever I wanted. And then my sophomore through senior year, I ended up playing D-Midi. And I was joking around with Jordan. I'm like, my hands would have been so much better if I would have like played box lacrosse with you in the summertime. And then maybe I would have played a little O-Midi and just passed you the ball all the time. So I guess if I would have had any regrets, it would have been, I wish I would have played box a little bit sooner. But other than that, like, really no regrets. I did it my way and, just kind of played with a chip on my shoulder and tried to play the game the right way. But, that's really it.
I mean, this is an all-time back-to-back episode because GD had the exact same thought that if he had to do it over, he would go up and play in Victoria or play out west somewhere and try to just get more reps in and go all in on the game. So if you're an American kid that's listening to this, you're a fan of the NLL, you've got aspirations to play in it, or if you're a young American playing in the league, go up north, get a summer somewhere fun and learn to play the game.
Especially if it's Victoria. If it's Google Victoria and then you should go for sure.
Yeah.
Google maybe Cactus Club in Victoria.
Yeah.
If you're contemplating Coburg, Ontario, you might want to think twice. But if there's an option to get out to Victoria, then go ahead and do it. But man, we appreciate it. This has been awesome. Again, I played against you for my career, but then got to spend some time together at Ocon's wedding, which was an all-time weekend. And again, there's you should be proud of your career, man, and everyone I know that played with you speaks volumes of your leadership and things that they've learned from you. So it's hang your hat on that, and congrats on an awesome career, man.
No, appreciate it. Thanks, fellas. I mean, playing against all you guys, Paul and I were teammates, but the box game is, I tell every American, I'm like, dude, you want to be the best player, you got to play box. And that's the only way you get the respect of the Canadians is you have to play the box game to be one of the best players and take that to heart and just go by looking at all the best Americans. They all play box, and your guys' dedication and loyalty to the game is that something that inspired me. So keep doing it, but we're coming. Like the American box game is coming. There's a lot of kids that are playing and try to do my part, get a stick in their hand before I did.
It's guys like you, man, that continue it on, though. That's what's going to take this sport and this league to a next level is by getting kids into it younger, man. So, again, congrats on the career, buddy, and thanks for coming on. Great to see you again, man. Glad you're doing well in retirement as well, buddy.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. Love listening. I got to listen to GDs. So this is great.
Awesome, thanks, man. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Caps down.
All right, that was Brett Manney again. All-time guy. Anyone you ever asked that's played with him speaks volumes of his leadership. And again, you don't just become the all-time games played leader by an American by accident. So um, good for him. GD is going to hunt him down. You can see the similarities between those two guys based on our last two interviews. But
Yeah.
again, great, really great fun talking to them. And again, if you're a young American kid that wants to pursue this game, maybe sacrifice the summer, get up north, have some fun, and learn to play with the best that do it. So, outside of that, want to give a huge shout out to Donnie, Lacrosse Culture Daily over there, launching their new college lacrosse show. Awesome logo, gets me juiced. I listened to it today, and again, obviously, I've been out of it for some time, but gave me some nice inside scoops. I've been talking to a couple of my buddies, maybe creating a little college lacrosse betting circle. So I think we might have to lean on that for some information. But really good listen, man. Should be proud of that, and I know it's going to do well.
Yeah, well, thank you. Every Thursday, it'll be on YouTube, Spotify. It will be on Apple Podcasts. We're having a few issues with it today. I was not part of Back of the Bird when we set up all the logistics on the back end, so this is my first time running through that. Yeah.
We gotta call in Ocello from the rafters.
I actually did a while ago. We had to. This was a Back of the Bird thing, but I had to update the account. Long story short, we had to update something. We had to send a confirmation code to Ocello's email, and I thought, wow, he could. Yeah, he could really take us by the balls right now if he wants to. But he was cool about it. Then I don't know if you saw him on Twitter. He completely forgot who I was on his podcast. So pretty funny little moment there. But yeah, College Lacrosse Show. Me and Dan Arestia every Thursday.
Donnie and the Dans, you love it, eh? It's
I know
that's who you're hanging around with.
And he has. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me. Let me find it here. He sent me a great picture of his new setup. He didn't have time to get it framed, but that's in his house right now. So we'll have that. We'll have that going in the background. And
I can guarantee that's not game worn.
It's signed. It's signed by a couple people there. I think that's yours right here, and then number 7.
Your dad's, and I think that's Dave's.
Yeah, those might be my brothers, my uncle. No, I don't know who the fuck was number 7.
It looks I don't know.
Was that Big B?
No. It's a B. It looks like a B first name. I don't know. I could look it up. Anyways, big Dan Lomas fan. And big fan of yours too, Paul. He's the one who wrote that really great article about Banditland last week. So really excited for that.
Paul, you've actually inspired me. I think I'm going to take in the couple jerseys I have and get those things in a frame. It looks really good. And yeah, it's there's already one over top of my bed, which is an all-time look. You're like someone ends up in your room, you just have your own jersey. It's like a all-time costume. Yeah. I got mirrors on the ceiling too. But the other thing that actually came to mind after the interview, one of the coolest things that I really did enjoy about playing at Mohegan Sun was like that walk to the dressing room, and then all of the signatures on the walls of all the people that have performed there was like one of the coolest things to look through. Like, because again. Awesome. Yeah, it's just a little piece of history. Again, one of those things you'd love to just like have a couple of those bricks in your. The
Coliseum was cool for that too. I thought.
Yeah.
I only got to play there once, but it was cool seeing the photos of everybody.
Yep, agreed. But yeah, outside of that, again, we want to reiterate: go watch the games this weekend. It's been insane how close all these games have been. The upsets, everything going on in this league is a lot of fun. We want to give a shout out to KELO, official beverage partner of the NLL and Back of the Bird. And every week we're going to be giving you the KELO question of the week, which is going to be asking guys like we have in the last couple of interviews if they have any regrets over their career or anything they would do differently. So far, they would play more box, which I think is is a great answer. So we appreciate you guys listening. I think that pretty much does it for this week. Get out there, try out the new vodka waters made with real juice, and keep your eyes peeled for the wide mouth aluminum bottles coming to a shelf near you. That's it. See you next week.
See ya.